Is Black Bart my favorite movie of all time? No, but it is my favorite Western. Now, you just wait a darn minute there, partner. Am I understanding you correctly? Who are you? Well, you can call me Mr. Gunfighter, but I have a bone to pick with you. Do you mean to tell me that you think Black Bart is a better Western than The Searchers? Better than Rio Bravo? Better than The Magnificent Seven? Better even than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Well, Mr. Gunfighter, I didn't say better. I said favorite. Well, maybe so. Well, tell you what, Mr. Gunfighter, there's a stagecoach leaving at high noon. Best you be on it. You ask me, I think you've been sipping too much sarsaparilla. Well, now that we've gotten rid of the deadwood, it's time to talk about Black Bart. I understand favorite does not necessarily equate to quality. Yes, The Wild Bunch is an American classic, and it blew me away when I saw it first run. But as the years go by, I seldom watch it. I don't often feel like taking a ride into the lower depths of hell. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is the flip side of The Wild Bunch. Same basic story, but a much different tone. In fact, when it was first released, the critics hated it because of its jokey irreverence. The quality it shares with Black Bart. But here, the love story is between a man and a woman. The woman is Yvonne DiCarlo, and the man is Dan Duryea. Dan Duryea plays Black Bart, whose real name was Charles Bowes. Now, Black Bart was the most notorious stagecoach bandit in the West, and his real-life exploits would make for an exciting movie. But this movie is more interested in printing the legend than the facts. So we'll let the facts fend for themselves and indulge ourselves in the legend. And thanks to screenwriters Lucy Ward, Jack Nateford, and William Bowers, it's a highly romanticized legend, as all great legends are. Now, some might think it odd that Yvonne DiCarlo gets top billing in a movie called Black Bart, but we're dealing with another kind of legend here, the making of a movie star. Yvonne DiCarlo started as a flamenco dancer in Hollywood nightclubs, and she certainly is beautiful. Here, she plays Lola Montez, the famous friend of many famous heads of Europe. On a more personal level, she reminds me of someone I was once very close to. Universal House composer Frank Skinner does the score, and it really helps bring the film to life. It's exciting during the robbery and chase sequences, and it showcases Miss DiCarlo's talents during the musical numbers. She has two musical numbers in the film, but in the first one, there aren't any lyrics. She simply sings la 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 la, and as a consequence, she became known as the La La Lady when I showed the movie to my kids many years later. And while I enjoyed her work in many other films, such as The Captain's Paradise, Yvonne DiCarlo was probably best known to members of my generation as Lily Munster from the TV sitcom The Munsters. At first, Dan Duryea would seem odd casting, as he usually played gangsters, as he would 2 years later in 1949's Criss Cross, again with Yvonne DiCarlo. But in that movie, he is seriously overmatched by a young Burt Lancaster. Duryea suffered a heart attack as a young man, and he was slight of frame. You can see the shoulder padding in some of his costumes, but he has an edge that suits the part well. Jeffrey Lynn is nothing but trouble as Black Bart's former partner in crime. If it wasn't for him, things might have turned out differently. Oh, and another thing the movie shares with Butch Cassidy is the ending. Don't believe me? Check it out. Percy Kilbride, Park Kettle himself, turns up as another former gang member, and he provides a lot of comic relief. In fact, he's got one of the funniest lines in the film. And now, watching it as an adult, it's the romance that appeals to me, especially in the final scene between DiCarlo and Duryea, where he expresses his true feelings for her. But it's not to be, because for some of us, great romances don't end particularly well. So, yeah, it's a grade B odor, but it is still my favorite Western. And as usual, childhood memories have a lot to do with it. One memory in particular. I was 6, maybe 7 years old, when one day my mother said, "Joseph, come here, I have something to show you." Turns out it was an ad in the Journal American newspaper, which announced that Black Bart would be premiering on the $1 Million Movie. Okay. But I wondered, why was my mom so excited about this? At that time, in the late 50s, I was heavily into two comic book superheroes, the Phantom and Batman. And like most kids, I first learned to draw by copying their images, and both of them wore masks. Hmm. My mother wasn't excited about the movie. She was merely taking an interest in her son's activities and encouraging them, something she would do with each and every one of her 6 sons. And that's what being a real life superhero is all about. See you around the campus.